The Baltimore Ravens made a move that left a lot of fans scratching their heads, and now we're starting to hear the other side of the story. Adaf Owa, once a promising first-round pick, is no longer in Baltimore. The Ravens traded him to the Los Angeles Chargers, and now that he's landed on the West Coast, he's finally opening up about how it all went down. His words were calculated, confident, and if we're being honest, just a little bit bitter. But you can't really blame him. After arriving in Los Angeles, Owa addressed the media, wearing number 51 for practice, but quickly making it clear that a jersey number wasn't the only thing he planned on changing. He didn't like how he looked in that uniform, and in many ways, that small detail reflected something bigger. He's ready for a fresh start, one where he can finally, in his words, show who I really am. Owa admitted he was shocked by the trade. He was literally driving back from a meeting at the Ravens facility when he got the call. One minute he's in Baltimore, the next he's boarding a flight to the other side of the country. But that shock didn't last long, because deep down, he saw this coming. He said that when the Ravens didn't offer him an extension last year, he pretty much knew the writing was on the wall. This was going to be his final season in purple and black. What he didn't expect was the timing. What stands out the most from his comments is this chip he's clearly carrying. He said he's got a little animosity on his back, and that he's motivated to prove what he can be to people who actually want to see it. That's a strong message. Whether it's aimed at the Ravens front office, the coaching staff, or even his former teammates, he's making it clear he felt held back in Baltimore. Now, let's keep it real for a second. Owa didn't have a sack through 5 games this season. His impact on the field was minimal. His performances were inconsistent. If we're judging purely by the tape, the trade makes sense. The Ravens needed more from him, and they weren't getting it. But here's the twist. Owa seems to believe the system in Baltimore just didn't give him the right platform. He believes there's another level to his game that wasn't being tapped into. That's why he's calling this move to LA a perfect opportunity. A new scheme, a familiar face in Joe Hortiz, who had a hand in drafting him in the first place, and a chance to reset his career. It's also worth noting that he called the Chargers the LA Ravens. That nickname isn't just for fun. There are legit ties between these two teams now. Hortiz is in Los Angeles. They've added multiple ex-Ravens, and that familiarity is part of why Owa thinks this move makes sense. There's a sense that maybe in this new environment, he can finally be the player he always thought he could be. But if we zoom out for a second, this trade also says a lot about where the Ravens are right now. It's not just about Owa. It's about a team that is clearly not satisfied with how things are going. Head coach John Harbaugh was asked about whether the team would continue looking at pass rushers before the trade deadline. His answer wasn't exactly definitive, but it wasn't a no either. He said, "I think so," which might be coach speak, but it does hint that the Ravens aren't done yet. They cleared up some cap space by moving Owa somewhere between $7 and $8 million, and that could be the fuel for another move. Let's not forget, Baltimore's defense has been one of the worst in the NFL this year. Bottom 5 in almost every major stat. They've allowed 37 or more points in 4 of their 5 games. Teams are walking all over them. It's not just on the field either. The body language has been awful. Sideline shots show players and coaches looking dejected, frustrated, almost defeated. The vibes are off. The messaging from the coaching staff doesn't seem to be landing. And now they're heading into a tough matchup against the Rams, while also possibly being without Lamar Jackson, who's dealing with a hamstring injury. Things are teetering. What's interesting is that while the Ravens are breaking things down and trying to rebuild in the middle of the season, the Rams are trying to figure out who they are too. They've had a weird season. They've looked like a playoff team one week, and then completely out of sync the next. But they've also had moments where they could easily be 5-0 right now if a few plays went differently. So you've got these two teams, both talented, both confused, and both looking for something to spark them. That brings us back to Owa. His trade might seem small in the grand scheme, but it could be a domino. If the Ravens truly are going to be sellers or aggressive buyers at the deadline, this is the kind of move that signals that shift. They didn't trade him because of one bad performance. They traded him because they didn't see a future with him, and maybe because he didn't see one with them either. One comment from Owa really stands out. He said, "I know that the fact that I have a lot of pressures, that's going to translate at some point." That's a guy who still believes in his game. He's not backing down. He's not looking at his lack of sacks and thinking he's washed. He's thinking this is just the beginning of the second chapter. But that chapter won't be written in Baltimore. From a Ravens standpoint, it's also telling that they didn't replace Owa with another edge rusher. Instead, they brought in a safety, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and added Alohi Gilman in the trade. That means they're likely to lean on guys already in-house. Rookie Trenton Simpson could see more snaps, maybe even rushing off the edge, a role he played at Clemson. And that adds another layer to this story. Can Simpson step in and give Baltimore what Owa couldn't? One thing's for sure, this move isn't just about talent. It's about culture, trust, and fit. Owa didn't feel like he fit in Baltimore anymore. The Ravens didn't trust him enough to extend him. And now both sides are moving on. Whether that decision ends up being a mistake or a masterstroke will depend on what happens next, for Owa in LA, and for the Ravens as they scramble to salvage what's left of this season. Now that Adaf Owa is officially out of Baltimore and suiting up for the Chargers, the Ravens have a real problem to solve, and fast. Not because they lost a guy who was dominating on the field. Let's be honest, Owa wasn't producing at a high level this season. No sacks in 5 games, a lot of missed opportunities, and far too much inconsistency. But they lost potential. They lost depth. And more importantly, they lost a piece they once believed would anchor their pass rush. The question now is, who steps up? The obvious first name that jumps out is Trenton Simpson. He's a young player who showed flashes in college at Clemson, and he has the kind of athleticism the Ravens crave. He's not a traditional edge rusher, but with Owa gone, the Ravens might have no choice but to experiment. Simpson was drafted with the future in mind, not necessarily to contribute right away, but Baltimore doesn't have the luxury of patience right now. Their defense is leaking everywhere, and someone has to generate pressure. Simpson could be that guy. At the very least, we're likely to see his snap count go up significantly as they try to patch the hole Owa left behind. But this goes deeper than just a personnel decision. Owa's departure shines a light on a bigger issue that's been quietly building in Baltimore. This defense doesn't scare anyone anymore. For a franchise that built its identity on physical, suffocating defense, the 2025 version of the Ravens looks like a shadow of that legacy. Through 5 games, they've forced just 2 punts in their last 20 drives. Opponents are converting on 3rd down, scoring in the red zone, and making this unit look confused and unprepared. It's not just a schematic problem. It's a cultural one. The swagger is gone. The energy is off. Even the veterans don't look like themselves. Roquan Smith is banged up. Marlon Humphrey can't stay on the field. The secondary is playing soft coverage, giving up easy completions underneath, and then getting beat over the top anyway. There's no bite, no edge, no urgency. When you watch this team, it doesn't feel like the Ravens we've come to know. And that's what makes the Owa situation even more complicated. Because while his numbers were unimpressive, he was one of the few players who could at least get pressure. He didn't always finish plays, but he was disruptive. Now he's gone, and the Ravens don't have a clear answer for how they plan to replace even that limited production. Meanwhile, the timing couldn't be worse. They're heading into a Week 6 matchup against the Los Angeles Rams, and it's the kind of game that could get ugly quick. The Rams, despite their record, have been explosive on offense. Matthew Stafford is leading the league in passing yards. Puka Nacua is putting up all-pro numbers, and the ground game with Kyren Williams has been quietly effective. Add to that a Ravens defense that can't stop anybody, and you've got a dangerous recipe. Baltimore's best hope might not even be on defense. If they want to win this game, they'll have to do it the old-school way, control the clock, run the ball, and keep Stafford on the sideline. But that's easier said than done. Especially when your offensive line is crumbling, your starting quarterback is dealing with a hamstring injury, and your depth chart is a war zone. Ronnie Stanley is still banged up. Roger Rosengarten is hurt. Tyler Linderbaum hasn't looked like the player he was last season. Even the backups, like Joe Noteboom, have failed to hold the line. And that's before you even talk about Lamar Jackson's status, which is still up in the air. Without Lamar, the Ravens are a completely different team. Cooper Rush is a serviceable backup, but he's not Lamar. He's not going to escape pressure, extend plays, or flip the field with his legs. He's a classic drop-back quarterback, and behind this offensive line, that's a problem. The Rams' defensive front is no joke. Jared Verse, Byron Young, and that whole unit have been feasting all season. If Baltimore can't establish the run early, they're going to find themselves in 3rd and long all game. And if that happens, the turnovers are coming. There's also the psychological aspect. This team is reeling. The locker room has taken hit after hit, not just physically, but emotionally. The Texans' game in Week 5 wasn't just a loss. It was a complete collapse. Losing 44-10 is bad. What's worse is that it didn't even feel that close. The Ravens were lifeless. The effort wasn't there. The execution wasn't there. And now you're asking this same group to bounce back with an even more depleted roster against a team that's better on both sides of the ball. It's a tough ask. Then there's the Harbaugh factor. John Harbaugh has been one of the most stable, respected coaches in the league for years. But right now, it feels like he's losing the room. The vibes are off. The players look confused. The energy is missing. And while no one's talking about firing him yet, the pressure is building. If this season continues to spiral, the conversations will start. Fair or not, that's the nature of the business. The upcoming bye week gives the Ravens a chance to reset, but only if they can limp into it without another disaster. A win against the Rams, even a sloppy one, could be the spark they need to start salvaging the season. But another blowout? That might be the moment this team officially breaks. The cracks are already showing. Oa's comments reveal more than just personal frustration. They expose a deeper truth. There's a disconnect in Baltimore, between players and coaches, between expectations and reality, between what this team used to be and what it is now. And for Oa, this is a fresh start. He's got something to prove, and he might just get the last laugh. If he starts racking up sacks in Los Angeles while the Ravens' defense continues to flounder, fans in Baltimore will be asking tough questions. Was it a system issue? Did the coaching staff fail to unlock his potential? Or was Oa just never the guy they hoped he'd be? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear, both sides needed this change. As the Ravens try to pick up the pieces, the Chargers are quietly building something. With Joe Hortiz bringing that Baltimore blueprint to LA, and a group of players hungry to prove themselves, the pieces might be falling into place. Oa's bet on himself is bold. He's saying, I wasn't the problem. The situation was. Now he gets to back that up on the field. For the Ravens, this is now about survival. They don't need to look like contenders next week. They just need to stop the bleeding. Fix the little things. Show some fight. Because right now, they look like a team that's losing more than just games. They're losing their identity. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The NFL rumor mill is on fire this morning after what insiders are calling a jaw-dropping move. SHEDEUR Sanders, the young quarterback sensation, reportedly humiliated the Cleveland Browns in a dazzling display of skill and poise, only to cement his next chapter in Baltimore. According to sources close to the situation, Sanders has agreed to a 4-year deal with the Ravens, shocking fans and analysts alike. While official confirmations are still pending, the whispers from around the league suggest this is a signing that could alter the balance of power in the AFC for years to come. Sanders' recent performance against the Browns was nothing short of spectacular. Observers described him slicing through Cleveland's defense with the precision of a seasoned veteran, throwing with a combination of poise and audacity rarely seen from a quarterback so early in his career. Analysts are calling it a statement game, the kind that leaves opposing defenses questioning everything they thought they knew. In the aftermath, chatter about his next destination began to dominate sports talk shows, with the Ravens quickly emerging as the frontrunner. Baltimore, known for its strategic quarterback moves and aggressive approach in free agency, reportedly acted swiftly to secure Sanders before other teams could jump into the fray. The deal, said to span 4 seasons, signals the Ravens' commitment to building around a dynamic offensive weapon who could redefine their passing game. Fans are buzzing online, with debates flaring over how Sanders will mesh with the existing roster and whether this move signals the end of Lamar Jackson's era in Baltimore. While some skeptics warn about the risks of high-profile young quarterbacks changing teams, the excitement is palpable. Rumors suggest that internal meetings within the Ravens organization were electric, with coaches envisioning Sanders leading an explosive offense and pushing Baltimore back into Super Bowl contention. If the whispers hold true, the NFL could be witnessing the rise of a new star whose confidence and talent are already making headlines. As the story develops, the league waits with bated breath. Could Sanders' stunning performance against the Browns be the prelude to a career-defining run in Baltimore? Only time will tell, But for now, the NFL rumor mill is ablaze with the name SHEDEUR Sanders, and the Ravens may have just pulled off a move that will echo for seasons. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.